In recent days, we've witnessed a lot of things happening across the country, protesters and riots, and the death of George Floyd there in Minneapolis, and emotions flying high, to say the least. The question now might be, what's the best way to handle everything we're seeing? And how do we talk to our children about that? Well, joining me live via Zoom, Two Roads Wellness of Champaign and Danville, we've got Carrie Offenstein with more information. Hi, Carrie. Good to see you again.
Hi, Tim. It's good to see you, too.
It's sad we have to talk under circumstances that have sort of been ravaging the country these past 48 hours, but I think everybody's trying to wrap their brains around how do we process this all in terms of our own mental health and well-being, and maybe even how do we talk to our children about such things. Let's start with the first question, and how might you help your clients sort of sort through some of these things?
Sure. I think that right now, one of the things to keep in mind is that not everyone feels the same way. And mental health is one of those things where we try to help people understand that kind of no matter where you're coming from or what viewpoint you have or how you're feeling about everything that's going on, you deserve to talk to a counselor, you deserve to get your feelings out, and you deserve to be heard. I think that everyone kind of in their own way has a lot of really strong emotions right now. And I think one of the most important things that we want to drive home to people is to give yourself space for those emotions. You know, give yourself space to process any feelings that you have about what's happening. You know, the way that you feel may look different depending on where you're from. It may look different if you're a Black person in America versus a white person or another person of color. Everyone's experiences have been different. And I think that's one of the things that can be really important to keep in mind right now, because that can help us build empathy for each other and understanding kind of where everyone's coming from.
Are there ways, and this is going to be a tough question to answer, I'm sure, that are acceptable to express said feelings versus not? Obviously, things that are illegal would fall into the not acceptable category, but I think we all sort of act differently when we're trying to process things. Some are angry, some are reserved, some are... Do we all have to act a certain way, or are there different opportunities for letting those emotions flow through us?
That's such a good question, Tim. And I think you kind of already nailed it. Everybody does respond in different ways. And I think that, you know, you mentioned talking to your kids, and that's even kind of something to bring up with your kids, is that lots of people react to things that they're dealing with in different ways. And so you can build empathy with them for the fact that one person may not respond the way that someone else does. But to get back to your question, I don't think that there's one right way. And I think that one of the things that that can happen is that we pay attention to actions, like you're saying, you know, is there a right way and a wrong way? And it's kind of detracting us from paying attention to trying to work on solutions. The things that are happening right now are happening because of historical systemic trauma in the Black community. And that's something that just honestly has never really been effectively dealt with, I think, in our country. And one of the ways that we can heal is for us to start listening to each other and move forward in that way.
When it comes to our kids, do you suggest a proactive or a reactive approach? Do we wait till they ask questions, or do we just go, all right, we're talking about this?
You know, in some ways, you can kind of let your kid take the lead. I think that one of the things that we really like to do with kids here, you know, whether they're clients or people's own children, is give them a lot of space for their feelings. This type of thing is scary for everyone on all sides right now. And I know that kids especially can feel really unsafe. And so giving them the space to kind of talk out their feelings about what's going on, to ask you questions, to help get answers to those questions if you don't feel like you have them, and just sort of start a dialogue with your kids can be a really good way to handle things. I'm definitely a big believer in being open with kids in a way that's age appropriate. So, you know, in some ways, parents have to sort of judge that and use the best advice of professionals for, you know, is your child a little too young maybe to grasp what's going on? But if they're not, then, you know, respect your child's ability to think and to react and talk to them about what's happening. Because, you know, in some ways, right now, what we talk to our kids about can help build the next generation of maybe more peace.
Absolutely. Well, we know this is a tricky and difficult subject, and we appreciate you last minute hopping on with us to try to shed some light and give some tips. Thanks so much, Carrie. We appreciate you.
Always. Thank you.
You got it. We will connect you with Two Roads. If you need more questions answered or want to talk to somebody, just go to our website at ciLiving.tv.